Thomas said. He had a dollar amount. Do you remember what it was?
Well, I haven't heard him put an actual dollar cap on it. What he'll usually do is say what he objects to is a certain ratio between what top managers earn and what, say, the medium or lowest paid workers get paid.
Right.
There have been inequality critics who have offered dollar caps on pay. And the one number I saw, the most specific one, was $5 million a year, which he said was too generous, but we can always lower it later, which I think is really horrific. Because,
yeah, me too. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
But management, management is always there more than the worker is, because they always have to come up with new ideas. They always have to make sure that the workers are happy and that the product is still good, where the workers are the workers. But you have to treat the workers fairly and with respect. If a worker would start at a fast food restaurant at $15 an hour, there's no incentive for that worker to make themselves better and move up somewhere or start their own job or something like that. You have to have a base pay, and you have to have, the worker that's worth anything continues to excel and improve themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact is that if you start making a minimum wage at $15 an hour, there's a lot of people, particularly the lowest skilled and least educated, who won't even be able to get jobs. But I actually think this debate is mostly not about pay. Certainly the debate over the pay of the top people is not really about pay. It's really a debate about people who think that what CEOs and managers do is valuable and important and productive, and those who don't. And one of the things I think is really odd about this debate is that we're taught to have very strong feelings about CEO pay. And yet if you asked the average person, like, what is it that a CEO does? Like, what kinds of decisions does he have to make, and what kind of skills does that require? Most people could not give you a very good answer.
Right.
And so I think the starting point has to be a recognition of what they do, why it's so important, why it's so productive, and why it's something fundamentally good. There can be bad CEOs, as I've said, but this is fundamentally a role that we should have respect for and admire when it's done well. And so the question is, should those people get paid well? And not that many people object to a LeBron James getting $25 million, but what about superstar CEOs? The average pay for Fortune 500 CEOs, these are the CEOs of like $5 billion to $500 billion revenue businesses, it's $10.5 million. And so that, on the face of it, does not strike me as something that's particularly suspicious.
That's a good point. This is a very important topic, and you are very well spoken about it. Let's take a little break, if you don't mind. Don Watkins is our guest. We're talking about his book, Equal is Unfair, while we're talking about income inequality and that whole political football, I guess, that is being used right now. I disagree with. I mostly agree with you. The couple of things that maybe you disagree with me on are small compared to the bigger thing you're saying. So we'll take a little break. We'll be right back. This is WOCA.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Our Thursday will be a nice one with a mix of clouds and sun and a high of 75 to 79. Clear to partly cloudy Thursday night with lows ranging from the low and mid-50s and a few inland spots to the low 60s on the coast. Friday, mostly sunny and pleasant, high 76 to 80. On Saturday, partly sunny and warm, high 78 to 82. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Chip, doesn't this time of the year just bring out the best in people?
Absolutely. It's all about the spirit of giving.
And at Ford Lincoln of Ocala and Village Ford of Bellevue, we are really in the spirit of giving by giving up to $2,500 back on select new Fords. That's cash in your hand.
Wow. That kind of money can really come in handy at this time of year.
It gets better, my friend. How does no interest for the entire length of the loan sound and no payments till spring?
It sounds like miracles do come true.
Don't miss your chance on really cashing in on the savings. The selection has never been better.
Like the holidays, this spectacular offer won't last forever. No interest for the length of your loan and up to $2,500 back to you on the purchase of select new Fords.
Start by visiting FordofOcala.com or MyVillageFord.com. Schedule a test drive and become automatically eligible to win free fuel for a year.
From all of us to all of you, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a safe and prosperous New Year.
All buyers of vehicles may not qualify for 0% interest or cashback offers. Restrictions apply. See dealer for complete detail.
Ocala Aviation now has opportunities for flight instructors.
Wait, hold on, Brad, is this correct? You're looking for instructors, not students?
Actually, we're looking for both.
Well, that's descriptive.
Well, I need flight instructors because we're now affiliated with a major university and can offer 4-year degrees. Plus, we're also approved to work directly with VA students.
Okay, so a degree in what, and what's a VA student?
Well, it's a bachelor's degree in aeronautics, which includes a commercial pilot's license, and there's financial aid available. By VA students, I mean veterans. They now have access to new benefits to pay for flight training.
Okay, so you have new opportunities for new students. What about the instructor side of it?
Well, with new students, we need more instructors.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
So, if anyone out there is a flight instructor, I want to encourage them to come see me. And if they're not an instructor but have their commercial license, we can help them become an instructor.
So they get their instructor license and have a job too.
Exactly.
So you got a lot going on. The VA, the college, and now hiring instructors and future instructors too.
Yep. So now can we get the commercial started?
Already ahead of you.
Call Brad to get your adventure started today at Ocala Aviation, 861-7484.
All right, 11 minutes now before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. There are so many other issues associated with income and wealth that it's kind of hard to do it all in the context of a radio interview. The book that spells it out in greater detail is titled Equal is Unfair, America's Misguided Fight Against Income Inequality. Don Watkins is the author, and he is our guest right now. Thank you for waiting through the break, Don.
My pleasure.
So just to kind of recap, a professional athlete, we can understand, okay, he's the one or she's the one who brings in the people into the stadium, and they're the ones buying the tickets, and they're the ones who will be viewing the advertisements on TV or in the stadium or wherever. So there's their value. And as you pointed out, a lot of us don't understand what the value of a CEO is because it's not public. I mean, they're up there in their office, and they're making decisions that are the equivalent of a skilled athlete.
Yes, they are.
But in business instead of in sports, right?
Yeah, and in many senses, we shouldn't really have to understand what they do. That is, it's weird that it's a political issue how much they're getting paid. Who pays them? It's not taken out of the pockets of workers. It's taken out of the pockets of shareholders. And it's the shareholders who are the ones who have to judge, are we getting a good deal for our money? Because I'm a shareholder, I actually don't care how much I pay a CEO. What I care is maximizing my returns. And so think about if I offered you a guaranteed winning lottery ticket. You would not care how much that ticket cost. You would care how much would you gain on net. So if I offered you a $1 million ticket for $10,000 or a $1,000 ticket for $1, you'd say, I'll pay $10,000 because I'm going to get a lot more in return. And that's really how shareholders look at it. They say, as long as I'm maximizing my income from these people who are helping these companies succeed, then that's what I'm worried about. And so this is really an issue for shareholders to decide, not for the public or for the government to decide.
So should the shareholders also decide what the line worker makes?
Well, but it's not that. So the way that it basically works is that the managers who are actually operating the business have to make those kind of more fine-grained decisions. And in fact, it's not even the shareholders who are setting CEO pay directly, because that is a really hard thing to assess. That it's delegated to a board of directors. And so and what's interesting is, although it will often be put that the shareholders are getting taken advantage of by high CEO pay, when they've been offered the right to vote directly on CEO pay, they overwhelmingly reject it. And when their companies are forced to offer shareholders a vote on CEO pay, such as under some companies under Dodd-Frank, 98% of the time they approve the packages. And so the basic issue is that this is something that should be left to the free voluntary choices of individuals and not on outsiders who don't have the information and who don't have a vested interest. And who Washington
who many times
make the decision. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I should be the one apologizing. I just wanted to interject. A lot of times, these guys in political careers never had this experience. You know what I mean? The work they do, it's kind of hard to decide whether what they do is deserved. That's harder for me to understand than what a CEO does.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's deceptive. It seems deceptively simple. Oh, here's these businesses, and they rake in a lot of money. If you've ever tried to sell something to somebody, like I have this book coming out on inequality, and I've had a couple books before that. Getting somebody to turn over $10 or $15 to you is really, really hard, and getting millions of people to turn over money to you over time is so hard, and people take it very lightly as well. Well, you just go and you bark orders and probably sip scotch and smoke cigars, and that is not at all what a business success requires.
No, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. I have worked with 2 large corporations. They've had offices in multiple states, and I worked with the CEO and under the chief financial officer in both of them. It boils down to the person they hired for cost accounting, and now that cost accountant runs all of the numbers everywhere, from the cost of the purchase of a very, very small item to make a larger product, to the salaries of the CEO, and everything is weighed in so that once that product sells, that money will be able to be generated back within the company and split up among everybody there. And it seems to me that, and these are the figures that are given to the stockholders at the annual stockholders meeting. The cost accountant is in there, and his feet are literally to the fire until he can explain everything.
Yeah, I mean, and so a lot goes into these assessments. Like, it's definitely not arbitrary. And I mean, we've mentioned, what determines what people near the bottom get paid. And you just have to think, if it was really true that businesses could just be arbitrary about it, then you would think most people would make minimum wage. But in fact, only a few percentage of workers make minimum wage, precisely because of this point that the more productive you are, the more it pays a company to bid up your services. And so what you really want to see, if you're concerned with people at the bottom, is not how do we politicize pay, but is what's required to increase productivity. And today I think the government is doing a lot of things to make it harder to increase productivity and innovation. And the fact is that there's so much regulation that in many industries you really cannot innovate. And I think you see this in the numbers when you look at declining productivity. It's no surprise in that kind of context that people at the bottom are doing really poorly in many cases, and that is a tragedy. But it's not because other people are doing really well; it's because we're blocking our ability to produce wealth.
Exactly.
Tell me about your thoughts on the welfare state, if you could, please.
Well, so I'm a big believer in opportunity, but opportunity means an open road. It's not that people are going to drive you down it. And so what I think the welfare state does is a complete inversion of opportunity. That is, instead of people being able to rise as far as their ambition and ability will take them, it's that they're guaranteed what other people's ambition and ability produced. And if you look historically, I don't think there's any case that you need a welfare state for those who actually do hit on tough times and can't, rather than won't support themselves. So my view is not that everybody on welfare is bad or that nobody will ever need help from other people. It's that you don't have a system that says, if you're in need for whatever reason, even if it's your own bad choices, you have a right, you're entitled to other people's money. Just as if I was in need, like if I needed an operation I could afford, like I wouldn't go over to my neighbor and say, you owe me because I'm in need, and pull a gun if he disagreed. I would ask for help. I wouldn't view myself as entitled to it. And even if he couldn't help me, I would understand that and say, well, thanks. And, I'll go ask somebody else. And so I think the welfare state, it's not about helping people, which happened in America in droves before the welfare state. It's really about this idea of entitlement, and that's what I'm opposed to.
Yeah, the pastor who recently died, Robert Schuller, he on the same page as you regarding that. He said when you help a chicken out of its egg before it's born, it won't live because it needs that struggle to develop the neck muscles in order to be able to eat once it's out of the egg. And he used that as a metaphor to say you have to let people struggle so they can get stronger and do. In other words, what you're saying, I think, is that those who want and don't need the welfare state are actually hurting themselves. Because they could, if they were left to their own devices, they would figure out a way to survive.
Well, I think there's definitely a large amount of truth to that. But my focus is not on. It's not. There's people who are in the welfare state. How do we maximize how well they do? It's each individual matters, including people who have produced and made something of their lives and are doing well. Their lives matter just as much as everybody else. And it's wrong to say, because you've succeeded, now we're going to force you to serve the needs of others. I think we each have a right to pursue our own happiness, and then we can help the people and causes we care about to the extent that it enriches our lives. I mean, that's one of the ways we pursue happiness. But the welfare state, instead of allowing me to decide who do I want to help and to what extent can I afford to help them, it says, no, you've succeeded, so you have to set aside some of your hopes and dreams in order to give money to people who you may not respect, you'll never know. We have no clue what they're going to do with it.
And they're lazy.
And I think that is really, some are, many are. I mean, this is part of my point. Many of the people who go on welfare, they're perfectly good people who just hit on temporarily tough times, and those are exactly the kind of people who would be helped in a free society. The kind of people who would not be helped are the lazy people, the people who don't want to work, the people who view themselves as entitled to other people's money, and those are people who really get empowered by the welfare state. And then one of the things that it leads to is it leads us to start to look down on the perfectly good people there because they get lumped in as,
that's right.
Oh, you're all lazy. And, and that's really unfair.
And a perfect example of how we all already make that same personal choice is when you pull up to the interstate exit and there's a guy with a cardboard sign and you look over at him and decide, am I going to give him money or not? Sometimes your decision is based on how healthy he looks. You say, holy cow, he's young, he's healthy. Why do I need to help him?
Exactly.
But you don't know his circumstance. I'm just using that as a way to illustrate what we think in our own heads at that moment. But we don't have a choice when the government decides to just make a blanket gift.
That's right.
Well, Don, what a very intellectual conversation we've had. The book is called Equal is Unfair. How do we get the book?
It's going to be coming out in not until March, but I have a lot of material that's already free up on the web at equalisunfair.com.
Okay, equalisunfair.com. We'll leave it at that. I hope you can come back in the springtime.
Anytime.
Good conversation. Thank you so much, Don. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Karen McHugh. Investigators in Europe have followed their leads in the Paris ISIS attacks to Geneva, Switzerland.
Earlier reports had said that there could be a direct link to the attacks and this terror alerts. Authorities are now downplaying that. They still say so, though there's potential danger out there. The reports that there could be 4 suspects with possible ties to ISIS in the city, and they could be planning the attack.
Fox's Greg Palcott. Donald Trump's latest poll numbers unhurt by his proposal banning Muslims from the U.S.
A survey in South Carolina, taken around the time Trump called for the temporary Muslim ban, shows him gaining in popularity among likely Republican primary voters, with 35% support. The poll was taken Saturday through Tuesday.
Fox's Rachel Sutherland. Carol, a lesbian romance drama with 5 nods, leads the parade of Golden Globe nominees. The 73rd Golden Globes air in January. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Meet Lawrence. He's making serious money on his own schedule driving with Uber.
With Uber, you can write your own paycheck. I was making more money driving part-time with Uber than I was making on my full-time job. You sign up, you get approved, and you start earning money right away. Right away, like the next day. It's just that simple. Turn it on when you want to make money, you turn it off when you don't. What are you waiting for?
Thanks, Lawrence. To start making great money with your car, sign up to drive today at drivewithuber.com. That's drivewithuber.com.
Tonight on NBC, Dolly Parton's true story comes to life in a holiday television event. A child with an impossible dream to become a star, facing tragedy and overwhelming struggles with nothing but love and family.
Love ain't just a feeling, it's an action.
Ricky Schroeder and Jennifer Nettles star in the most inspirational movie of the season, Dolly Parton's Coat of Many Colors. Tonight on NBC.
It's time for Farm and Ranch headlines with the Southeast AgNet. I'm Tyron Spearman reporting. The American Peanut Council is holding their meeting in Atlanta this week. They're having their 75th anniversary celebration. The industry will be talking about what's happened the last 75 years and what can be improved for the coming 75 years. World peanut production totals, they say, is about 29 million metric tons per year, with the U.S. being the world's 3rd largest producer after China and India. Worldwide peanut exports are approximately 1.25 million metric tons. The U.S. is one of the world's leading peanut exporters, according to the council, with an average annual export of about 200,000 to 250,000 metric tons. Argentina and China are other significant exporters of peanuts, while origins such as India, Vietnam, and several African countries periodically enter the world market depending on their crop quality and the world market demand. China, Mexico, Europe, and Japan account for over 80% of the U.S. exports, according to the Council. The largest export market within Europe is the Netherlands, followed by the UK, Germany, and Spain. Demand for peanuts in North America and Europe has been steady, although competition within a dynamic snack market continues to put pressure on peanuts to compete with a growing range of products such as potato chips, extruded snacks, tree nuts, and baked snacks. In addition, quality specifications, food safety concerns, and import requirements continue to require monitoring